Tuesday, the 2nd of Feb, 2021. Welcome to the Match Reaction Show, Seasiders podcast. And today we've been watching Blackpool versus Northampton Town at Bloomfield Road. No, it's not Cobblers. 2-0 to Blackpool. I'm John Aspinall on the Seasiders podcast Match Reaction Show. Blackpool 2, Northampton Town 0.
It's already changed the world. Small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome to the Match Reaction Show on the Seasiders podcast. And I am hoping it is 2-0, boys, because I missed the last 2 minutes. So was it 2-0?
Yes, he didn't do a Smith.
No. Thank God for that. Yeah, oh God. This is such a rush, isn't it, when it's this time kickoff. We've all lagged it upstairs, mic issues, but we've got her in the end. So apologies if we are a couple of minutes late. Right, welcome to everybody in the stream. Oh, great to see Critch has joined us already. Trust the process, lads. Another Critch Sleep masterclass. It certainly was, wasn't it? Anyway,
I started following him on Twitter.
Oh, have you?
It's very amusing.
Welcome to everybody on the stream. As I said, welcome on the audio pod. Welcome, Tim. Good to have you back on.
I'm looking forward to talking about this tonight. I'm buzzing just with that last couple of minutes. Yeah.
I was kind of a bit jaded watching all that, but Jerry Yates's goal right at the end's given me a bit of a boost. But what a strike! But we'll go on to that. Welcome, Nick.
Good evening, everyone. Yes.
Curtains not drawn. Is that symbolic at all?
No, it's just because I was rushing like mad to get that up when we've got like 3 minutes to get ready.
And your spike
is back. Spike is symbolising our rise up the table.
This is symbolic spike. Listeners, if you've got any other symbolism for Nick's spike and what you've just watched, drop it in the comments. Funniest wins. And welcome, Tom. Good evening from Suffolk. How are you doing?
Good evening. Yeah, really good after that last goal.
It's really perked us all up, that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, it was a bit of I don't know, Tim. How do you think we started the game? You go off on a bit of a monologue while I'll just get the match action up.
Yeah, I think when we look at the team, I think obviously we were missing a few, weren't we? That we would expect to start. Medine, particular, Garbett, and I wasn't convinced, and I felt that it was really weird game because all our best chances, bar the last one, all seem to come from Northampton defensive cock-ups, and
we were never hitting the target, were we?
It was really weird. I mean, obviously, literally, I think with the first kick of the game, Thornley ends up with like a free shot on goal and manages to contrive to put it wide. And then as we'll go on to speak about, there's a completely surreal goal. Puts us 1-0 up. I think it was on about 9 minutes, wasn't it? With a completely mishit shot from Stewart that he's most of the teams turned around and sort of walking back to get the positions for the goal kick and Kai with a bit of opportunism does well to keep the ball in, to be fair, I thought, on the left-hand side, and then puts this cross across, which is a good cross, but the keeper should have had it, and then it gets bundled over the line by Ekpiteta or whatever. Where was Burgess calling him? Ben Burgess. Ekpiteta. It was bizarre. And it sort of came in off the defender, didn't it? So. But it was all like that. It was like that through all, as we're going to go on to chat, it was like that through all the games. So it was completely surreal. And I actually thought Northampton were really good going forward until they got in the penalty area. And then they just seemed to blow. I mean, one guy got taken out like he was on the grassy knoll, didn't he, at one point?
There's a name for a team like that or a player called the Jigsaw. Do you know why?
Oh, go on then. They must go on.
Falls to pieces in the box. Or the deck chair folds under pressure.
It was Because I actually
I'm
thought
here all night.
I thought they were really good. I thought they were really good going forward, and then as soon as they got in the box, it was just like, oh my god, what was that?
I have
So, yeah.
plugged this on the Northampton Twitter feed. So if there's any Northampton fans listening to this, you are the jigsaw side, according to Tim. Right, let's talk about the match lineup. Nick, let's come to you first. I'll just read it out. So it was Maxwell, Gabriel, Ekpateta, Thornley, Husband, Dugal, Stewart, Virtue, Kai, Sims, and Yates, with no sign of Gary Goals. It was a strange one. I'm only presuming he's injured. Don't know if there's any intel on that.
Yeah, I think Matt Scrafton said he'd got a knock, I think, and was it possibly Garbutt as well. So when you look at who's available, there's not too much different you could do. Maybe he might have chucked Ballard in, but to be fair, Thornley's done well since he's come in, so probably doesn't deserve to be dropped. So when you look at who's available, I think it was, probably what we'd expect to see, really. And obviously, Labala was out as well, wasn't he? I think, I don't know if maybe he's got a knock as well. So
Yeah,
there weren't that many options, really. You've got, and a couple of young ones on the bench. So, but it didn't feel like a patched up side particularly. I think it does show we've got some reasonable strength in depth. And so it proved with the result.
So Tom, over to you. Obviously, Ballard not playing in place of Thornley. That was a bit funny. Maybe he wasn't match fit, and Nick just said Thornley not coming in. Any other surprises in that lineup for you? Sims potentially a replacement for Gary Goals.
Yeah, I think initially. If the club did tweet that Bez and Medina are out through injury, so hopefully Medina's just a precaution. But yeah, Sims deservedly straight in, and didn't do a bad job tonight. Maybe should have scored one with the 1-on-1 early doors. But I'm not surprised by Jordan Thornley. I think he had another really good game, and I think he deserved it based on his last few performances. He's really took his chance, and I, for one, am glad to see him sort of stay in the window as well, because if we let him go as well and Ballard's not match fit and we have another injury, you've got Turton and Husband coming in at centre-back, and he's slotted in really well. And we've actually now got four really decent centre-backs that, as we've seen tonight, can drop in and play well together. So no big surprises for me at all, apart from Ellis Sims coming in. But if Medina's injured, it's a natural replacement with what we've got left.
A lot of the listeners, viewers, agreeing with us there. Cliff said hard to drop Thornley after the last three displays. Steve Hutchin mirroring that. Thornley deserved to keep the shirt. Talking about Thornley, there was a great chance in the first minute. Tim floated ball in, and he's got to hit the target. He's not done, and he should have scored, really.
I wonder whether he was just surprised it came through to him, but maybe maybe it had been like it was literally the first minute, wasn't it? So, but yeah, you've got to look at that, and it was almost easier to hit it on target and score a goal than it was to put it wide. So I think he'd be disappointed with that, and I think any professional footballer would be as well, to be honest. But now, I said, if I'm making excuses for him, I'll say that it came through and he wasn't expecting it to.
And it was a centre-half finish.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Nick, we started the game. The game generally was very bright, wasn't it? It was plenty of chances in the first couple of minutes. We've got Chris Maxwell, great save on 2 minutes. Thornley interception on 8 minutes, and Ellis Sims, that little chance he had in the box when he was free at an angle, and again possibly should have scored.
Yeah, I mean it's good he's getting into that position. I thought he got into some good positions tonight, and he's tried to hit it across the keeper, which is the best thing to do, but probably just not quite well enough, and the keeper saved it with his feet. But going back to the start of the game, it was the first couple of minutes. It was literally end to end, wasn't it? Thornley had his chance, and they went straight at the other, and the lads turned, and I didn't think he'd hit it as well as he had done when I first saw it. And you see the replay, and he got a decent connection on it, and it was a good save from Maxwell to claw it. It was right in the top corner. So yeah, it was. He
kind of made it look easy, didn't he, Maxwell?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and it was a decent effort from their lad. And you're thinking then after a couple of minutes, it's going to be quite an entertaining game. And then I think as the half went on, it just got a little bit more scrappy. They were, as we'll talk about, their defending was terrible, and a bit of their decision making in the final third wasn't great either. So yeah, it did peter out a little bit as the first half went on, but it didn't matter because we got the goal.
We did, and what an odd goal it was. It was very strange. Tom, let's come to you on the goal. What did you make of that?
I think the first time in my life I didn't actually cheer a Blackpool goal. I just sort of laughed. I think like Tim alluded to it a bit, but I think Stuart's either gone to loop the ball back in the box or he's gone for a shot, which is just appalling. I thought it's gone high and wide, so I've kind of looked away myself. I've turned around as well as the players. And Kai, like you said, has done really well to control it. Half decent cross. They've got 2 players on the back post, and somehow we've still managed to sneak it in. So I was just like, we've scored, but brilliant. But yeah, I'm happy for Marv's. He deserves another goal and another really solid performance. But it was a bizarre goal, and but one I'm happy for, obviously, because we needed it early doors.
Tim, you touched on it on the introduction, Marvin's goal. If you listen to Ben Burgess, he was almost laughing, wasn't he? It was that kind of comical, the goal.
Well, it wasn't even the fact that Stuart turned around and in disgust at his own control, but most of the team did, didn't they? And then all of a sudden, I just said, as I touched on when I was with my waffly intro, I actually thought that I thought the Kai did really, really well to keep it in because he was right on the line, wasn't it? And it was a moving ball, and he just kept it in. And then everybody looked like, the sort of proverbial, startled rabbits in the headlights, didn't they? Yeah, and I said it was the keeper. The keeper just seemed to go for it, and almost seemed to go a bit too quickly, and was on his downward bit as the ball came across. And and Marv was there. He did what I'm always a great fan of having somebody at the back post, because the number of times balls come across like that and there's nobody there, and I'm screaming at the telly. And so every credit to Marv for actually being there. And it wasn't the prettiest of finishes, but it doesn't need to be.
It'll count. Who's this idiot? What's this guy saying? Big Marv, the glue hole, Matt Smith. Who are you? Yeah, the fans. So the listeners are agreeing there. Stephen said, Marv, the goal sniffer. That's true. Cliff Smith, Marv, the new goal machine. It's 2-2, isn't it?
I wonder what his odds are for scoring, because I bet they've come down a little bit after getting his first, but they'll have still been, I don't know, what would he have been? 16s maybe for first, maybe.
They're not like 28 to 1 centre halves, aren't they? Either 28 or 33. So
yeah.
Come on, Bison's is claiming it's an own goal. I'm not having it as an own goal. It bundled. I mean, it touched the defender on the line, didn't it? But it was going in anyway. So I don't class that as an own goal.
Even the coach was laughing as well. Bison's is adamant, Tim, an own goal. I don't know. Has anyone actually seen the replay?
No, it does come off the defender. It does come off the defender, to be fair. But it was a goalward bound shot before he touched it. So. Never going in. Go on, I'll have to see the replay, but it looked like it was going into me.
I think
it's a goal.
Well, it's a goal. That's all that matters. So the rest of the first half, we just had a lot of bitty chance, didn't we? Can anyone remember anything of particular note, incident-wise? It was just a big blur of thing.
Yeah, I think Nick made a good point. I think as the half went on, the standard of play seemed to deteriorate, and it carried on deteriorating in the second half, as we'll go on to discuss. But I just thought we looked a little bit disjointed. I think having Virtue, as much as I like him, he's not a right winger, and so we looked a little bit. A little bit off balance, where I think Ben Burgess was making the point during the game that every time we got the ball, Kai was out left and they knew where he was, but we were never quite sure what was coming. So we ended up going down the left a lot more than perhaps we might normally do. I think probably the most encouraging performance in the first half was Stuart, who I wouldn't say was exceptional, but he just looked like he was. He was looking for options, looking to dictate the play, the pace of play, and play the simple. We've talked about it with Dougal, haven't we? It looked a bit off tonight for me. And again, maybe I think we said on the chat, didn't we? It might be a bit of COVID fatigue. But for me, he looked under the weather, and And it was, I thought Stewart stepped in and did a great job.
I think the other shout for the first half for me was I thought Kai looked more lively than he has done in previous performances. He looked a bit more up for it, and was breaking forward. He looked like he had a bit more freedom. And reading Stephen's comment there, whatever you guys do, don't criticise Kai. It's flouncing territory. Yes, we lost Mr. Riki from the WhatsApp group tonight. He's been singing Kai's praises throughout, and he has come on for a little bit of criticism, but it was all constructive. But
I thought he did.
I thought he looked better tonight. He looked like he was putting a bit more shift in, a bit more running, which is something we've talked about in previous shows. He
got tackling as well.
Yeah. He did, and he got clattered a couple of times as well, quite early on. So I'll sing his praises because we haven't always been able to do that recently.
Remember the first time he went down, he got clattered. He went into the challenge half-hearted. That's when you get hurt, don't you? If you don't go into challenges 100%. But yeah, I mean, I thought he was decent tonight. He had a good game. He's put himself back in the window, I think, after that performance. Right, back to the game. Second half then. We're going to try and keep this show as brief as possible because we don't want to go over an hour. We've got something kind of big happening tomorrow, haven't we, boys?
We have.
What's that?
The uninitiated. We've got a Charlie Adams interview tomorrow. So it's patrons only for the live recording, but it's going to be going out on Sunday. So yeah, we've all got to get a good night's kip this evening for that. So we're going to try and keep this show under an hour. But anyway, back to the action. Second half, Tim, we've got Sully Kai whips a freaking over the wall, saved by Mitchell, our keeper. Dougal on his left foot. Strikes one from the edge of the edge and just wide. It was a good chance by Dougal, wasn't it? It'd be good to see him get on the score sheet.
Yeah, because he hasn't scored yet, has he? He just put it to the right of the goal, didn't he? It's difficult because the camera angle is a little bit difficult to see actually how close it was. Because of course you don't get we'll have to ask Sam because I think he was behind that goal. He might know how close it was. Yeah, it was decent. I mean, again, I still think it should have hit the target, to be honest. But Critchley bringing in with his little.
We should rename this the Coach Critchley comedy show. Coach Critchley's comedy hour. He's been wearing his shoes on the wrong feet. Daft sod footballers, eh? But yeah, Kenny Dougal, Nick, how do you think he played today? Back in the side.
Yeah, similar to what Tim said, it wasn't his best game. I think Stewart was probably the outstanding one of the two in the middle. But he's still, he's a very good player and he keeps it ticking along. And you look at that shot; he's got a decent shot on him. And what we saw from the penalty he scored, didn't we? That was brilliantly taken. And I think it's something that we'd maybe like to see him do a bit more. If he could chip in with a few goals from the centre of midfield, it'd really add to his game because he's one of the first on the team sheet for me. Still, even if he's a 7 out of 10, it's a Tim 7+.
So a feature of our play, Tim, this evening was we were getting a lot of shots away. I'm going to look at the stats in a minute, but as we said, they weren't hitting the target, and it's quite frustrating that we're getting to these good positions, we're not hitting the target, and this reared its head on 61 minutes when Kevin Stewart, he's hit the post, we've broke Kai's through, played Stewart in, and he's hit the post. You've got to be scoring from there. It's possibly unlucky it's come off an angle.
You've got to say that before we talk about the goal, what the F were the Northampton defence doing? Because there wasn't anyone within 10 yards of the halfway line, never mind on the halfway line. And so as we break, Kai's effectively, it's like watching a kid's football match, isn't it? When everybody's piled up for a corner and he runs through on goal. To be fair, I thought he did well. He drew the first player who'd got back into position and laid it across. I think it was a bit in front of Virtue and fell to Stewart. And he thought there was only going to be one outcome, didn't you? You just thought that's the back of the net. And he
could have gone either side, couldn't he? Could have gone either side.
Yeah, and
it wasn't on his strong foot apparently because he's a left footer.
Yeah,
no excuse, really.
he did look a bit ungainly in the way that he was lined up for the shot. yeah, it managed to hit the inside of the post and send it across to the left, and I think everybody was just shaking their head. They couldn't believe that the chance hadn't gone in. So, but it is worrying that when you actually analyse the game and you know, and as I said, it was the standard of football in the first 20 minutes of that second half was complete and utter garbage. It really was from both teams, and you know, I was shaking my head. Couldn't believe how bad it was. But when you actually analyse how many times we made that keeper make a save during that game, I'm struggling to think of any. Really?
There
was the Sims one, wasn't there? But that was quite. It wasn't a great shot.
That
Sims one,
more or less.
Yeah, so it was quite easy for him. Obviously, then you take out the one where he missed it on the goal. I'm thinking, you know, how many times have we actually made him make a save? And I'm struggling. I really am struggling. And in a game like that against a team who are pretty poor, you should be testing the keeper. I would have thought 10 times, and I think if we did it twice or 3, I suspect that's about it. So that worries me about our play sometimes.
We had 17 shots, 5 of which were on target.
There we go.
That kind of says it all. Yeah. Tom, let's just come to you for the for that chance that we've just missed then. Am I being hyper critical here and thinking when Kaikai's through on the goal, I expected him just to go clean through and slot it in, but he looks very slow. And in those kind of situations, you cut across the last defender, don't you? You knock the ball wide, you go past him, and he's got no chance. The only way he's stopping you is by bringing you down. And it's, to me, that's a player lacking in confidence to not go and take that on and score, particularly with one with his ability.
Yeah, I didn't want to criticise Kaikai too much because I think Tim said he's actually done well in the end. But for me, you've got to belt through and either slam it past the keeper or just move around him. He's got all the time in the world, and I think because he's got those options, he then gets stuck in 2 minds and he thinks it's an easy goal. And in fairness to him, the pass is good enough for Stewart to score. And
it got him out of jail, that pass, didn't it? Really.
He did similar. I'm not saying the Doncaster goal was poor, but he did similar at Doncaster. He ran all the way through, got really close to the keeper, then passed it across to Hamilton, and Hamilton finished it really well. But Kaikai, for me, has got to either go through and he needed that goal, maybe just to slot it under the keeper or go for it himself. But I can see why he's passed it, and Stewart should score. So it's one of those ones where if we conceded late on, then that was one of those game-changing moments, but luckily we didn't get punished for it. But we've got to be taking those chances in the future because we were shooting way too much tonight. And either if we were playing rugby, we would have been clear, but we weren't. And they went over the bar so many times, or they got blocked just because we shot because we didn't see the pass or didn't decide to pass. So we've got to be much more clinical. We should have won 3 or 4-0 tonight. They were abysmal.
The game should
as was the ref.
No, don't. Yeah,
he seemed to make some very strange decisions. All in fact, what reminded me was just seeing something on the chat there where did you when that, I think it was actually one of our players, wasn't it, who passed it back, and Pateta and the guy just come on for Northampton, clashed, and then I don't know if anyone else picked it up, but as they got up, he then gave a booking to the Northampton player. Well,
I think it was a bad foul. He wins the ball, and if you see the Northampton player, he comes across on top of Marv's and he kind of stamps on him, but I'm not.
I might have missed that.
From what I read, I think it was quite a bad. Well, say bad challenge. I think Marv's has absolutely ruined him with the tackle, and he's won the ball. And it's a good tackle, but I think he's coming a bit late on on Marv, and stamped on him a little bit, and that's why he's got the booking for the late challenge. But I don't think there's much he could have done about it.
It's one opportunity when the ref got in the way, as Barson just said, he kept getting in the way. I was screaming at him, get out of the way. Yeah. But just in the room then, Daz McKenzie's just put this out there. Virtue was the worst offender shooting when a pass was needed. Ben Burgess was not complimentary towards him, but he wasn't having a go at him for that. He was saying, well, it's good that he's driving forward, but what does everyone think of this comment? Tim, do you agree with that? You being his biggest fan?
Yeah, he didn't have his shooting boots on tonight, that's for certain, did he? I think he had one. I vaguely remember one half decent one, which was only about 5 or 10 yards over the crossbar. But I think that was about as close as he got. And some days you are going to be off with your range, aren't you? And it wasn't. It was it the last game or the game before he scored. Well, it was the Wigan game, wasn't he? He scored an absolutely exquisite
finish
goal, hitting it first time. But if you don't, you're not going to finish all the time. I think part of the problem for Virtue today was that he was played out of position for most of the game, and during that period when he's out on the right, he looks like little lost sheep, doesn't he?
There's a couple of comments coming in support of Virtue. Fat Goat Sacks. I was laughing at that. I think we would be shouting at him if he didn't shoot more. I mean, Nick, that is something we have kind of said.
Yeah, I mean, I've said previously, I'm not going to have too much a go at somebody for having a try, but I think there was one or two occasions where maybe a pass was the better option. But again, if he gets one of those right, it's flying in the top corner, and we're all, singing his praises, aren't we? So it does seem to take him a bit of time sometimes to get his eye in. He will shoot, and there's not many others do that from that midfield, is there? So I mean, it's early days with Stewart yet. We'll see what he brings in that respect. But yeah, I'm not going to be too critical if he's going to have a go, because we don't score that many normally, do we? So can't be too critical.
Okay, so we made a substitution on 71 minutes, the first in the game. Dimitri Mitchell replacing Kenny Dougal. Tim, I'll come to you. You're our big subs man. The correct substitution at the correct time?
Well, what he did was he brought Virtue inside at that point and played him. I suspect he wanted to see him with Stewart, maybe just as an alternative, because the slight problem when you've got Dougal and Stewart together, they're both quite similar players, and I think if we're going to play them both moving forward, we do need an attacking player in front of them. Whether that's the young Sunderland lad we signed yesterday or not remains to be seen. Whether it's Kai, whether it's Virtue, but yeah, I mean, when I first made the sub, I thought it was a bit strange. But then I think we realised then that Virtue was coming inside. It started to, you can understand, and Dougal did look tired, and it's a common after effect of COVID, isn't it? That you're feeling a bit fatigued, and I suspect part of the issue there is just a little bit of a hangover from that.
So let's talk about Mitchell, Tom. A great virtuoso performance when he came on. He looked a real threat, and he was positive and making positive runs into the box, and he looked decent on the right, which is strange. An inverted winger, if you will.
Yeah, I was kind of praying that we eventually started him up front over sort of Bez or Kai in one of the previous matches, because when he's come on previously, he's looked a lot livelier, and he hasn't got the full sort of defensive sort of duties to do, so it can be a bit more free. So I was pleased to see Virtue come in the middle, because he's very limited on the right. I think Virtue did a good job tonight, but he's very limited. He can't attack the wing like Mitchell and CJ can. So I was glad to see Dougal come off in the end, because Tim's alluded to he was tired, and when he came on, he made things happen. He made runs off the ball. He was on the other side of the pitch, and he was creating a lot of space. So I think he played really well, and actually I can praise the substitution, because he got it right on that one.
Nick, your thoughts on the substitution and Mitchell's performance?
I'd agree with what Tom just said. Like you say, at first you think what's going on, and then you realise, like Tim said, that Virtue can go more central. And I thought Mitchell was great when he came on. He tried to take his man on every time, make things happen, and it makes you think, could we see, we'd like to see a bit more of him possibly. Not necessarily saying starting, but at least get maybe a half in. Because it looks really promising. We haven't seen a lot of him, have we? I think it was, is he a defender? Is he more an attacker? And you look at him going forward, I think that's definitely where his strengths lie. So yeah, it was a good cameo for me.
Steve Sutton, is Mitchell a defender or a midfielder? What do we reckon? Don't know.
Good question.
Midfielder for me. Yeah, midfielder for me as well.
Yeah, he's not the best at covering it back when he goes back. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. So as the game kind of petered out, we did look on the front foot. We didn't look particularly under threat at all. And Coach Critch has made his second sub on 80 minutes. Ollie Turton on for Ellis Sims. This was a strange one, Tim, formation wise. What
Yeah, unless Ellis had a little bit of a knock, I don't understand it, because I'm sure Coach Critchley is going to help us out here. But to me, we seem to lose some attacking threat. Maybe he was tired, I don't know, but it looked like a very, very defensive substitution. And the concern at that stage for me was that, the game was still there for Northampton to take a point. If we'd been 2 or 3-0 up and somebody had a little bit of a knock, you might have taken them off and maybe just shored the midfield up. So it's nothing against Turton, because I actually think Turton did okay when he came on. But I just thought, bar what we're going to talk about, just to finish off with, we looked very, very toothless when we lost Ellis. So for me, it was a bit of a strange one.
He's maybe got one eye on Saturday, possibly, depending on what the situation is with Gary Medine. How many games is it we got in February? 8 or something, is it?
Saturday, Tuesday,
yeah,
aren't we?
He's perhaps just, and because he's still, he's new to league football, isn't he? There you go. Rotation is our salvation.
The coach has spoken, Tim. There you go. 8 games in 26 days.
I like rotation is our salvation. You could write birthday cards and Christmas cards, couldn't he? Critch, he needs a bit of extra spending money.
We've got someone who was tired and not really watching the game, matching up a bit, so they were playing 3-4-3, I think. That's Matt's comments there. You're probably right there, Matt. But anyway, so we're down to the final 10 minutes of the game, 90 minutes. There was, what did the board go up, say 5 minutes, was it? Something like that?
Yeah.
And then they had a bit of a spell, didn't they? They got a corner and they were pressing, and it was a bit
they had that decent cross that came in as well, didn't they? Where we were a bit worried, and Maxwell saved it on the second bounce, didn't he? Well, he saved it and then caught it second bounce. When that must have been, my heart was in my mouth a bit. I think that was around the 85th, 90th minute mark, and it would have been catastrophic, really, from our perspective, to throw away 2 points, bearing in mind how poor they were. And that was always the concern when it's still 1-0 and you haven't polished the game off.
But we did polish the game off. Cometh the hour, cometh the man, Tom. Jerry Yates looked like the ball had gone too far and fancy footwork, and he slotted it under the keeper. Well, he's put the keeper one way, gone around the other, and what a finish to end the game off.
Is exceptional, because when he was in the box, and I think, what are you actually doing? You're not passing, you've not shot, so you've got nowhere to go now, and he's just sent the defender for a hot dog, gone round the keeper and tapped it in the net. And I was just like, as soon as he's gone around the keeper, and I thought that's 2-0, but I've had to watch the replay again, because it's just the Cruyff turn. If you remember, he did it against Peterborough as well. There was 2 defenders went one way, and then suddenly he was the other way, and he bangs it in the net. So he's got that in his locker for sure. But it's an exceptional finish. Probably one of the best goals this season in terms of individual brilliance at such an important time. We may have gone on to win, but it just puts the game to bed, and and it's just great for him to score, and there's him into double figures as well. So I'm really happy for him, because he worked so hard tonight. He was always running and chasing the ball down. So it's every credit to him.
Nick, your views on the goal?
Fantastic. I mean, great from Maxwell, first of all, to get it out to him. I think a lot of keepers had probably been hanging on to it, trying to waste a minute or so at the end of the game. But he's seen Jerry make the run. And this is the thing about Jerry H, because I'd replied to someone on A View from the Tower who'd said that he'd done nothing all game and he's never good enough for a promotion campaign. And I was like,
what? Who said that?
Are you on about? Just someone on the match day thread, match night thread. And so when he did that, I was like, where's my phone? as I was saying. But yeah, just absolutely. He's as full of running in the 95th minute as he is in the first minute. And even if nothing's come off for him or he's barely got any service, he never ever stops. And you see that with the goal. I thought, he's done too much here. He's running to a brick wall, and then all of a sudden, it's like Johan Cruyff, and he nips past the defender and the keeper and slots it in. And I don't know who said goal of the season, but I think it probably was, just for his determination to keep going, and he never gives up, and absolutely fantastic for him.
Anything else to add to Jerry's goal, Tim, before we move on to play ratings?
Well, two things. First of all, it's by far and away my favourite goal of the season so far. I just think for all the reasons, I won't go repeat, for all the reasons the lad said, particularly that Cruyff turn, that's just something else. And I think we need to have a petition for a new jingle, which will have to be the Jerry Springer, Jerry, for when we get back, because I think we need that, because I tell you what, that would have been fantastic again to be there to watch that go live, wouldn't it? Because you don't see those very often, and that's top draw.
Yeah, there's a lot of positive comments coming in the comments for Jerry. Right, let's move on to the just before I forget, actually, just transfer deadline day yesterday. Been and gone with one addition to the squad. Nick,
yeah,
I noticed you were sort of talking people around to Sense, telling them that we'd kind of done our business before transfer deadline day, and it's not that important.
Yeah, I
think you're right.
I think transfer deadline day has just become a bit of a
Circus.
pantomime. Yeah, just for people in yellow ties on Sky Sports, and it's almost like we've got to spend this money by the deadline, and the players aren't there, then you don't necessarily have to do it just for the sake of it. And I'm sure there's ones we're going for and it didn't happen, but I just put a tweet out and said, and I said it on the group as well, if at 10:30 last night we'd have announced Ballard extending to the end of the season, Sims and Stewart signing, and the lad from Sunderland, I think everyone had been buzzing with that. But because we've done it early, you forget about some of that, and it's all you sat refreshing your phone till 11 o'clock, and people are a bit underwhelmed with it. I mean, it is a bit, you look at it and go, we've signed someone from a rival in League One, so can he be that good if they're going to let him go? But let's see. He's not kicked a ball for us yet, has he? So we'll see whether it's a decent signing or not. But I think, again, if you look at tonight, the team we've been able to put out with everybody who's out through COVID or injuries, it shows we have got strength in depth. So you look at who's got to come back, and I think we're set up well for the second half of the season.
Anyone else got a view on this? Tim, Tom?
I think just we've signed 4 players in the transfer window, haven't we? And we've got rid of a lot of dead wood that's been hanging around for a while, and that's no disrespect to them, but they're not players who are particularly adding anything to the mix. So you look at Stewart, looks a quality signing. Securing Ballard for the rest of the season is important. I know he didn't play today, but he will be playing. There's nothing more certain. And let's remember, whilst we're in February and it feels like we're moving towards the running, we're exactly halfway through our season at the moment. So if we look at the way, 34 points, I think we're on. So that's 68 if we replicate. But if you knock out the first 7 games and improve over those 7 games, we're going to be 70 odd points, and that gives us a shout of playoffs. So I think we're stronger going to the second half of the season than we were the first, and that's going to be crucially important. Whether it's enough remains to be seen, but I think we're going to be higher than 12 come the end of the season. That's for certain.
Have you seen that comment from Eddie on the screen, Tim?
I'm not. I can hold my hand up and say I had nothing whatsoever to do with any signings. So I deliberately stayed away, and I'm very glad I did. But yeah, you players like Youssef and whatever just have not, and they've just not been there good enough, have they? At the end of the day, I think they were perhaps players that Terry wanted, and whether he was just underestimating where we were looking to go and what we were looking to do, I don't know. But I just I'm glad I wasn't involved.
Eddie says Youssef and Devitt were all Tim's fault. The benefit of the audio pod, the previous comment was clearing up the mess from the interim board, which Tim was a part of, but let's not go there. Just as a bit of a tangent, I was thinking of Grayson then. Grayson to Fleetwood, eh? Who would have thought that?
Have you seen Dennis Hutch's comment? Grayson to Fleetwood on a free was good business. He keeps getting jobs, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I wonder whether it's almost to sort of assist Wiles, because obviously they dropped like a stone, Fleetwood, haven't they? If you look at them, I looked at the league table before. I think they're down to 15th, and they've played 2 more games than we have, if I recall rightly. I think they're on 25 games. Our friend Nappers, he's looks almost suicidal, doesn't he, at the moment with the number of times we keep seeing his videos with him pulling his faces. Can't believe what's going on. It's comedy gold. So yeah, on the face of it, it seems very, very strange. But I think it's probably to give him, he's available, he lives locally, and it probably gives Wiles that support he needs. But I think they were after the guy from Chelsea, weren't they? And when that didn't come off, the number 2 there, when that didn't come off, there was a short-termism. There's a short-termism with that appointment from where I'm looking, just to get to the end of the season.
Contract, isn't it? Just to think, maybe the remit is just to keep them up. So.
Yeah, I think it probably is, and then take stock from there. But
there was some up by winning games. Well, go on next. Sorry,
there was some interesting comments. I don't know if you listened to the Robbie Fowler podcast.
Yeah,
with Joey Barton on. There's some interesting comments from that. That's worth a listen.
Well, I'll listen to half it. I'll have to listen to the rest. Oh. Anyway, this isn't the Fleetwood podcast. This is the Blackpool podcast. So let's move on to player ratings for the game they've just watched. So let's start with you, Tim. Chris Maxwell.
So good 8 for Chris for me today. I thought his handling was good when it needed to be, particularly when that shot came in towards the end. And not, he didn't have a lot to do, but what he did right. But he probably steps up from a 7 for having the nous to do what he did, and to set up the second goal that secured the victory, because that's great goalkeeping when you do something like that, and particularly when you're at that point when a lot of teams time waste, as was said previously. So well done, Chris.
He's my player of the season so far, Maxwell. But we'll go on to that. He's up there, him and Spud. Nick, Jordan Gabriel, back in on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I thought he did okay. Tried to get forward when he could. Didn't always come off for him, but for me, I think he's cementing his place in the team, and I'd like to see more of him going forward. I think he's a better option than Turton, I think. And it's a clean sheet again tonight, isn't it? We talk about his defending, so I'm going to go 7 out of 10.
Big Marv, Tom, for you. One particular moment I remembered from Marv today when he lost the ball but then won it back with a superb sliding tackle. But there was another time when he did a body swerve. It was like Bobby Moore-esque almost, and he's lost his defender with a body swerve. Anyway, what did you think of Big Marv tonight?
Yeah, probably my man of the match. Once again, he scored, and he just looked like a defender who's been in League One or the Championship for a long time. It's just so reassured, and when he's got the ball at his feet, it's much more improved. There was a couple of times it was going up for a corner, he got his body involved, controlled the ball, kicked it out for a throw, and like you said, there was a couple of times where he lost the ball and he won it immediately back. So I didn't do anything wrong tonight, and he scored, so 10 out of 10.
What was that? 10 out of 10? 10? We've never had a 10 before, have we?
Didn't do anything wrong, and he scored.
Yeah, it's 2 in a row.
First ever 10.
Jordan Thornley, Nick. Hang on a minute, there we go. That's the 10 for Marv. I'm Jordan No Graphic Thornley.
Are we on me, or was it Tim?
Tim, sorry, yeah.
I thought Jordan did all right today. Again, he's sort of turning into without being exceptional, a sort of Mr. Dependable, isn't he? Where he doesn't seem to put much of a foot wrong, to be honest. So I'm not quite as generous with my scoring as my as young Tom here. I'm going to go for a 7+.
Yeah, but you're inventing your own scoring system as well.
Yeah, I do. I have my own scoring.
Nick, James' husband.
He did okay. A few wayward passes, but then he does try and get forward and whip crosses in. It's a clean sheet as well, isn't it? So I'm not going to be too harsh. I'm going to go a 7.
I think he was pretty solid, wasn't he, down the left? There was no James' husband moments in the game, was there?
I thought his distribution was a bit poor tonight.
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah, he didn't get sent off after 54 seconds, so he can have a 7.
Didn't let any goals in. We look pretty solid down the left, so get off his back. Kenny Dougal, Tom.
I'll start with the score early doors. It was 7. He didn't do anything spectacular, but he did win the ball back a few times, and distribution was decent, and he was still relatively energetic for someone who's potentially had COVID, or COVID-related illness. So first came back and he didn't really put a foot wrong. He didn't impose himself on the game as much as Stewart did, but yeah, strong 7, not 7+.
As Tom just mentioned there, Kevin Stewart, Tim. Kevin also no graphic Stewart.
Yeah, we're going to have to get these graphics sorted, aren't we? But I think that was a very encouraging performance from him. I think it looks, that centre midfield looks like a top half, if not top quarter of League One, if you can compare it with other teams, and that's got to be good for us going forward. He's up there with the best players on the pitch for me today, and I'm going to give him an 8. We lost John there. Has John frozen?
I think he has. So it would be on next. It'd be me on Virtue, wouldn't it? Well, he's playing out of position, one, as we've said earlier on, but he's still. He put a couple of great balls in. He drives forward. Yeah, his shooting was a bit wayward, but not going to be too harsh for him. At least he's having a go. I will give him a 7 out of 10.
Tom, I think you've got Kai.
Oh dear. Yeah, for me, better. But I think if Dougal, when that gets a 7, he gets a 6+ maybe. But I think he should take a leap out of Jerry Yates's book in terms of work rate and what he could add to the team if he did track back quite a lot. But he got an assist tonight, and he didn't do a lot wrong. So you probably say on par with a 7. But if you're scoring the others a 7 or an 8, he gets a 6 or a 7. So I'll be a little bit more generous because he has been better and give him a 7. But his work rate, tracking back, and his final distribution needs a lot of work. But a better performance from him tonight.
We've still got a problem with John.
Yeah.
I think I'll take Sims, and I'll leave somebody else with the glory of Jerry. I thought Sims. I was a little bit critical of Sims after the. Not critical is the wrong word, but I was a bit underwhelmed at Brighton. But I think he's growing into the role. I thought his movement looked a lot better today, and he looks like a quite a good player running with the ball. And I was quite impressed with his work rate today as well. So I'm going to give him an 8. I think that was an encouraging performance from Sims.
I'd agree. John, are you back with us yet? Are you still frozen? We can see you, but we can't hear you.
I bet not happen this tomorrow night.
What's going on?
Oh,
Oh no!
oh
Get your Wi-Fi sorted.
50p the meter.
Take
So
over.
Jerry Yates, like I said before when we're talking about the goal, he never stops running, no matter what's happening in the game. He keeps going, and he's got his just desserts at the end today, hasn't he? With that brilliant goal. So I'm not going to go as high as a 10, but it was a strong 9 for that tonight from Jerry.
Yeah.
Right, hopefully, I don't know what's going on with the internet. Anyway, let's go around the room, gents. Man of the match. Let's start with you, Tom.
I just gave him a 10, didn't I? So you'd be surprised if I say Kai. Marv's for me, based on another goal and a solid defensive performance. The individual brilliance from Jerry is a very strong challenge.
John's frozen. Go on, you go, Tim.
Yeah, I'm toying here between. I thought Stewart had a great game, as I said before, but that goal and to be fair, his work rate. I don't think he had many other shots, but when somebody scores a goal like that, I'm going to tip my hat to him. So I'm going to give it to Jerry Yates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. I was going to go Stewart up until that moment from Jerry Yates. I thought Stuart had a great game, particularly where he's just slotting in and looks like he's been there a long time, doesn't it? And I think he's only going to get better because, well, he's probably not match fit, although he will be fit to a level. He's not played a lot of football for a while, has he? So I think him and Dougal in the middle of the park, like you said, Tim, it's getting to be a top end midfield that for this division. But I've got to give it Jerry Yates just for that, goal of the season so far. So Jerry Yates for me.
Right, and on the basis we haven't got John. I don't know whether he's intending to come back in, whether he can get back in. I think probably just to finish off, we should just mention again for those who might have joined us late on that tomorrow we've got interview with Charlie Adam. I think it's the first time he's ever given an interview to any social media based outlet like ourselves. So it's a bit of a coup. We're hoping it's going to be very interesting. We've been working on our questions. There's still an opportunity if anybody's out there, particularly those on the patrons, to get a few questions in for us in advance that might augment our own output. And for those who haven't joined up yet, there's still an opportunity to sign up for Patreon so that you can listen in live. We are very, very keen that anybody who's listening in likes and subscribes. And we're going to be trying to make sure that's involved when we run it out on Sunday, that's actually what you do in order to access. So please do, because we are quite keen to get our numbers up. As John keeps saying, it does help us in relation to what we're able to achieve and our profile, for want of a better word, on social media. So, so let's hope it goes well tomorrow night. It's great that Charlie's agreed to do this. We've had it in the pipeline for a while with him. And but for various reasons have left it into the new year. So we're looking forward to it. Anything else to add, chaps?
No, I don't think so. Just make sure you get involved. And like you said, Tim, if you want to sign up for the Patreon service, it's a great opportunity. And what a start it would be to have that as your first show, Charlie Adam live. It'll probably be a long one, like with the GTF and Hillsy one. I think once we get into the questions, there's a lot we could ask, isn't there, to cover off with his time with Blackpool. So do sign up if you can. And also, if you haven't done, subscribe and like the YouTube channel, because it makes a massive difference. And he's back just in time.
Well, what
have we done, John?
What have we missed, boys?
Everything. We've finished the ratings. We've covered the Charlie Adam interview. And we were just about to say, thanks for downloading. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And up the pool.
Right, up the pool then. Right. So I'm on 4G now, so I don't know what's happening then. As I'm sure the guys have said, we've got Charlie coming up next week. So do subscribe. If you want to join the live studio recording, sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/CSidersPod. Join and support our content on there, and you get to do all the backstage access interviews with all our guests. So as we said, Nick's just said, thanks for downloading, thanks for listening, and up the pool. Phew, well done, Nick.
Up the pool.
Cheers, everyone. Up the pool.
Ollie's already changed the world. Small town from the north of England with a great tradition.